Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 247 based on novel. So let's start. Haha, Fu Yulong, you have a big voice. Even if your Haiyun Palace is big, how can it be bigger than the Herbalist Alliance? What you have done in Haiyun Palace in recent years has been clearly seen by other forces in southern regions. Before you are ready to deal with me, I advise you to think about how to protect yourself. Otherwise, the Herbalist Alliance has regulations and you can't easily intervene in the state. I'm afraid your Haiyun Palace should have been destroyed long ago. High above the sky, the laughter with a sneer came again, and the words also changed Fu Yulong's face. Although he didn't want to admit it, his words were undoubtedly true. In recent years, what Haiyun Palace has done has affected the interests of other forces in southern regions, and many forces hate Haiyun Palace. However, due to the mutual restraint between various forces, Haiyun Palace is temporarily in a stable state. However, Fu Yulong is also very clear in his heart that this so-called stability is only temporary. If he can't make himself strong before those forces attack him, what Haiyun Palace will face in the future is a fierce attack like a storm, or even destruction. Moreover, the people behind Wu Kuei are more terrible than these forces. Compared with other forces in the southern region, the people behind Wu Kuei are really powerful. It is precisely for this reason that even if Fu Yulong wants to peel Wu Kuei alive, he still can't fight at the end. Once he provokes the forces behind him, he will come to an end. It will be more miserable, just like. At the thought of that result, Fu Yulong's back was cold. Therefore, whether he is for his own survival or for the Haiyun Palace behind him, Fu Yulong can only continue to move forward. Up to now, he has no choice. In front of him are the major forces in the southern region, but behind him is a huge thing that he can't provoke no matter how. Unconsciously, Fu Yulong has fallen into an endless abyss. Even he doesn't know whether he is preparing to meet him in the future, whether to survive or die. The ship going to sea will only go farther and farther, and will never see the road when it comes. If it doesn't move on, it will end before tomorrow. So you're here to stop me today? After a long silence, Fu Yulong sighed deeply and his body shook slightly. Then he slowly looked up and said solemnly, "Ha, if you move other people, I may be able to sit back and ignore it, but since you want to make an idea of Qingyang City, I have to come." The laughter fell again. At the same time, a strong breath suddenly swept out of the body of the figure above the sky, and then quickly shrouded between the heaven and earth. For a while, a terrible momentum came to the city below. When Bai Hua felt the pressure of this momentum, a look of surprise flashed across her face. The man's cultivation was almost the same as that of him. However, the pressure of this momentum was so powerful. The overbearing spirit contained in it made people feel afraid. If the strong at the same level are afraid of fighting, it will be extremely unfavorable to the battle. If you are timid before a war, you will lose. What's the secret of Qingyang City? Even you will be attracted. Feeling the pressure of the momentum falling from the sky, Fu Yulong's heart sank. Even though he had already known the domineering spirit of the other party, the strange thing was that even if he was on guard, he would still feel afraid, so that his tone of voice was much lower. This breath is. At the same time, when Zhongli and others felt the domineering spirit contained in this breath, they were surprised, and the memory in their mind quickly turned. Soon, a strong and bald man appeared in their memory. Cough. It turns out. It's Master Ju Tai. Unexpectedly, even you came. Xiao Yang stood on the ground pale, holding the white birch in one hand, and looked up at the black figure in the sky. At the moment, the latter's figure was falling rapidly and came to Fu Yulong's near. The sun shone down on the figure who was dressed in a black medicine refiner's robe, with a bald head and a strong body, revealing an old and familiar face. It was Ju Tai, the former chief medicine refiner of the Medicine Refiner Association, whom Xiao Yang had seen when he was in the wild ancient city. However, seeing the latter again now is much different from that at the beginning. His breath has reached the later stage of Huiyuan territory. Even his soul power is extremely huge. I'm afraid it's no less than Xiao Yang today. This guy is now a 5th level herbalist. The 5th level medicine refiner has a good status even in the alliance of medicine refiners. No wonder Fu Yulong looks like that after seeing Ju Tai. Ju Tai, Fu Yulong murmured in a very low tone. The latter smiled coldly when he heard the speech. His eyes glanced over the people on the ground below. When he saw Zhongli and others, he couldn't help feeling a little surprised until his eyes fell on Xiao Yang over there. After seeing the familiar face, Ju Tai's pupils suddenly shrank in his eyes, and the whole person's actions solidified instantly, even breathing is suddenly stagnant. Then, the color of ecstasy in a pair of old eyes suddenly poured out uncontrollably, and an uncontrollable smile immediately appeared on his face. Xiao Yang. Ha ha. I didn't read it wrong. It's really you. When Jiu Li and others knew Xiao Yang's true identity, Ju Tai naturally knew it. Moreover, through them, Ju Tai also knew the relationship between Qingyang City and Xiao Yang. That's why he left the alliance of herbalists to come here when Qingyang City was suffering. Ha ha ha, you guy left the wild ancient city silently at the beginning. When I returned there, I only heard that you beat Mu Han with someone. Unfortunately, that guy was no longer in the wild ancient city, otherwise I had to greet him again. Ignoring Fu Yulong in front of him, Ju Tai smiled with Xiao Yang. Although he saw the latter's embarrassed appearance, he couldn't see the slightest worry on his face. He believed that the guy who could retreat safely in the empty thunder pool was not so easy to have big things. Cough. I'm really sorry, but as for Mu Han, I killed him a few days ago. Hearing Ju Tai's words, Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing, and his face was a little tired. Now that Ju Tai has appeared, he doesn't have to worry too much. With Bai Hua here, I believe it's more than enough to deal with Fu Yulong, who is also seriously injured. When Ju Tai heard that Xiao Yang had killed Mu Han, a look of surprise flashed across his face. Unexpectedly, the grievances of that year would be solved together many years later, and even other things at the beginning would collide again. The word fate is really hard to think about. As soon as his eyes turned, a smile appeared on Ju Tai's face. Even if he turned back, his eyes returned to Fu Yulong and slowly said, "After seeing Xiao Yang, I should have given him a big gift first, but after thinking about it, I'd better solve you first." "You want to kill me? I'm afraid you don't have that strength." Seeing Ju Tai's eyes, Fu Yulong's face sank and his steps retreated. At the same time, all the source gas left in his body also turned around quickly and stared at Ju Tai cautiously. "Hehe, I really can't kill you, but I don't need to do that. My purpose is to drive you out of here. If you go home now, I won't stop you, but if you want to do something else, don't blame me for shooting you." Ju Tai's face was cold and his body was shocked. The surging source gas in his body immediately gushed out and turned into an energy wave, rolling in the void around his body. The mighty momentum surprised people. Seeing this, Fu Yulong is even more stuck in his heart. At the same time, in the face of the two strong men in the later stage of Huyuan territory, if he is at the peak, he naturally doesn't have to be afraid, but now even he himself is injured, and his strength has been limited by more than half. Although the remaining strength can let him have the spare strength to deal with these people in front of him, the price is bound to be particularly heavy. However, if he doesn't do it, I'm afraid Xiao Yang has escaped this time. It will be more difficult to deal with him next time. I'm afraid he will be injured once he counterattacks. At the thought of Xiao Yang's strange means, his heart felt an invisible pressure. After thinking about it, it didn't do him any good, which made Fu Yulong embarrassed. Thinking for a moment, Fu Yulong's eyes flashed cold, but he turned back with an iron blue face. At the same time, the source gas in his body also circulated secretly. Seeing Fu Yulong turn around and leave, Ju Tai also breathed a sigh of relief. After all, the other party is a strong person at the level of returning to the source. Even if he is seriously injured at the moment, his accomplishments are still there. If he insists on fighting, it will be a lot of trouble. Seeing Fu Yulong go away, Ju Tai didn't take back his eyes until the latter's body disappeared out of sight. At the same time, Xiao Yang kept rubbing Naj's fingers and released them secretly. He is always ready. Once Fu Yulong's Jedi counterattacks, the target he chooses to attack must be him. In order to prevent this guy's raid, Xiao Yang is always ready to release the North King of Naji. I believe that if the North King is present, even if he can't deal with Yulong, he can definitely block this guy's raid. At least, it is no problem to wait until Ju Tai and others make a move. Immediately, Xiao Yang sat directly on the ground. Previously, he had swallowed the pill, but because he was always on guard against Fu Yulong, the power of the pill had not been fully distributed. Until now, he could finally start refining the pill in his body with complete confidence. With the power of the pill filled the air, Xiao Yang's internal injuries began to recover rapidly. In addition to some more serious injuries, it took time. The skin injuries all over the body and the damaged meridians in the body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. The white birch on one side finally relaxed gradually. Ju Tai stared at Xiao Yang with a smile for a long time. Then he turned his eyes and looked in the direction outside the city. At this time, a figure was flying here at a very fast speed. Soon, he came to the people. When he saw Ju Tai, he immediately saluted him respectfully. This man looks like a young man. His accomplishments only look like 3 stars fighting the emperor. From his address to Ju Tai, people know that this young man was originally a disciple of Ju Tai, which made Zhongli and others curious. Ju Tai's temper is not very good. He is happy and awkward at the moment, which makes it difficult to find out. Unexpectedly, some people dare to be his disciple. Hey, boy, aren't you looking forward to seeing your benefactor again? I'll fulfill your wish as a teacher today. Ignoring the strange expression of others around him, Ju Tai said to the young man. At the same time, he stretched out a finger and pointed to Xiao Yang sitting on the ground not far away. The young man's sight also looked at it. Then he saw the familiar cheek that could not be erased in his memory. At the beginning, it was him who regained his dignity and gave him a deeper insight in refining medicine. Even if Xiao Yang only said a word to him at that time, it made him useful. At the beginning, he had already regarded Xiao Yang as a master. If he hadn't met Ju Tai later, he inadvertently mentioned Xiao Yang under the latter's persuasion, I'm afraid he wouldn't become Ju Tai's disciple. Although he has a master now, the young people still respect Xiao Yang in front of him. It is not a master that is better than a master. For a long time, when Xiao Yang withdrew from his cultivation state and opened his eyes, he saw a strange young face in front of him, and then realized a turn. Then he saw Bai Hua and others with suspicious faces on one side, and Ju Tai with a joking face. This guy obviously knew the reason, but he didn't tell them. Bang! However, just when Xiao Yang looked numb, the young man in front of him fell down on his knees in front of Xiao Yang in front of everyone present, and did a big younger ceremony without hesitation. The appearance of this scene was not only the rest of the people present, but also Xiao Yang himself was completely stunned. The sudden scene in front of him really caught him by surprise. He didn't even know who this guy was. He actually knelt down for himself. Even if he wanted to worship a teacher, he had to report his name. Young Muing, thank you for your enlightening kindness. Muing. Hearing this name, Xiao Yang's mind not only didn't have any impression, but felt more and more strange. He has met too many people along the way, and many people can't remember clearly. Those who can be deeply in his mind are also those who have excellent friendship. As for the young man in front of him, he can't remember when and where I have met such a person. Seeing Xiao Yang's expression, Muing's deep look in his eyes was slightly dim. Although he was a little disappointed, he didn't have any surprise on his face. After all, such a thing was just a casual act for Xiao Yang at that time. How could he know that a casual word in those years would have created such a top-notch genius in medicine refining? However, just as Muing was about to tell Xiao Yang what had happened, Xiao Yang, sitting in front of him, suddenly seemed to think of something. His eyes suddenly brightened and said in surprise, "Are you the boy I met in Yangluo City?" As soon as he said this, Muing's eyes, which had just faded, suddenly showed a look of ecstasy. Unexpectedly, after many years, the people in front of him would remember such a distant little thing. Anyway, this has made Muing more firmly believe in his own value in the bottom of his heart. At the same time, he could not help but pay more respect to Xiao Yang in front of him. At the beginning, he was just an insignificant little herbalist, and even it was very difficult to refine ordinary pills. However, after that, his understanding of refining medicine has been greatly improved, not only because of his own talent, but also because of Xiao Yang's incomparable powerful figure at that time, brought him a sense of pride. It is probably the wish of every young man to be recognized by a strong man. I can't imagine that after many years, the elder can still think of me, Kid Muing. Thanks to the advice of the elder, I can have today. The elder is very kind and will never forget me. Tears of excitement flowed in Muing's eyes. In a twinkling of an eye, his whole face became red. After many years, the person in front of him had already become a stronger existence. Even vaguely, he felt that even his current master Ju Tai was too inferior to him. But Rao is so. He can still remember a small thing in those years. It really surprised him. Seeing Xiao Yang again has fulfilled his wish. How dare Muing expect Xiao Yang to remember him? Just now, he is stunned and can hardly restrain his emotions at the bottom of his heart. However, seeing Muing kneeling on the ground in front of him, Xiao Yang touched his nose with a red face. To tell the truth, he had no impression of Muing. The reason why he could recall that thing was because he accepted Luo Tianding in the ring. Luo Tianding was obtained from that Yang Luo city. For Xiao Yang, he was deeply impressed. Now, when he thought about it, he also remembered the mysterious strong man he met that day, the guy from the central region. It was precisely because of him that Xiao Yang was more curious about Lyanna's real identity. The little guy who looks like an ordinary girl seems to have an unknown secret on her, but today's Lyanna. Xiao Yang gets up. Mu Ling, who kneels respectfully on the ground in front of him, is also picked up by Xiao Yang. Then, the party returns to the Liu family residence with a smile. With the existence of Ju Tai, the atmosphere among the people became active. When talking and laughing, the previous war in the city seemed to be forgotten by them, and they didn't mention it. After that, Muing also introduced his current identity to the public. He is a third-order herbalist and one of the core disciples of the Southern Region Herbalist Alliance. If he succeeds in the future, he is even expected to enter the Dantar headquarters in the central region. It will be a great honor for them. Even when Ju Tai mentioned this matter, his eyes were full of fire, and Muing was also looking forward to it. After hearing this, the rest of the people were surprised and focused their eyes on Muing. They couldn't help but be slightly shocked by the excellence of the young man in front of them. However, when they thought that Muing could reach such a high level only by Xiao Yang, the shock in their hearts immediately transferred to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang ignored the people's eyes. Listening to the familiar title from Muing's mouth, he was only a little curious and hot. Xiao Yang didn't have any longing for that place, but if he had the opportunity, he wouldn't be polite to compete with the medicine refining master of Dantar, but Xiao Yang couldn't take Dantar as a place of glory and longing like others. After too much experience, he has long ignored some fame, wealth and glory. Instead of thinking about those, he might as well focus on cultivation. After all, as long as he has enough strength, he will come to the door obediently. This is the truth that it is better to ask others than yourself. After several greetings, the rest of the people in the hall gradually withdrew, and only Bai Hua and Ju Tai stayed. Of course, the reason why they stayed was Xiao Yang. Thank you, Mr. Ju. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid it would be worse than I expected. After the crowd left, Xiao Yang got up and bowed respectfully to Ju Tai, with a sincere thanks on his face. Bai Hua didn't dare to neglect it, so he quickly saluted Ju Tai. Ha ha, they are all from their own family. What's more, Fu Yulong has behaved very badly in recent years. Many people in the southern region regard him as a thorn in the eye, but because of his strong strength, no one dares to stand out. What I said to that guy today is actually the meaning of those old guys in the Alliance of Herbalists. Besides, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to find someone like Mu. If you want to thank such an excellent disciple, I should thank you. As soon as they said this, the three people immediately looked at each other. Even if they were all laughing and laughing, Ju Tai knew that Xiao Yang had joined the Western Region's Alliance of Herbalists. In this way, they all belong to the same force, and the relationship between them is more close. Talking and laughing for a moment, Xiao Yang's sight turned and fell on the white birch. In recent days, Xiao Yang has been busy with the rectification of the Liu family, but some things haven't been asked clearly about Bai Hua. Now the trouble has been solved, and it's time. After some general inquiry, Baihua described the overall changes of the Liu family for Xiao Yang over the years. Over the years, with the protection of white birch, the overall strength of the Liu family has naturally improved a lot. Although they have encountered a lot of trouble, the overall strength is much stronger than that when Xiao Yang first contacted. This is both expected and unexpected by Xiao Yang. In addition to the strong overall strength of the Liu family, the remnant soul of Liu Feng in the golden inscription plaque completely dissipated a few years ago, leaving only the power of soul left by Xiao Yang, which is still helping the growth of future generations of the Liu family. When he learned that Liu Feng's ghost had dissipated, Xiao Yang was surprised. At the same time, he could not help feeling pity. At the same time, he admired that guy more and more. A remnant soul actually supported the Liu family to the current level. It has to be said that Liu Feng, once the head of the family, is incomparably outstanding. As for Murong Qianqian, Baihua told Xiao Yang exactly how she came here. As soon as she heard that the girl found here with her own unintentional words, Xiao Yang couldn't help being surprised by the girl's behavior, so she didn't want to deceive her. If she was a person with evil thoughts, I'm afraid the little girl is afraid of being sold by others. I don't know why. But fortunately, since the little girl is here now, he will finally explain to Murong Xian in the future. In addition, Lyanna. Compared with them, Lyanna's current state is not as Xiao Yang imagined. Since Xiao Yang came to Qingyang City, because of the Liu family's affairs, he had no time to take into account too much, so he didn't see Lyanna. As soon as the matter was mentioned, Xiao Yang knew that Lyanna's misfortune poison had completely erupted a few years ago. The poison of the girl was suppressed by Baihua, but Lyanna fell into a deep sleep. However, over time, even with the strength of white birch, she gradually felt unable to cope with Lyanna's disaster poison. At the beginning of the new year, when Lyanna's misfortune poison body broke out, Baihua could forcibly suppress it by virtue of his cultivation. But in recent years, when Lyanna's misfortune poison body broke out again in his sleep, even Baihua's cultivation could not completely control it. Even in order to control Lyanna's constitution, he did not hesitate to use his own blood essence, only then can it suppress the disaster poison. When Xiao Yang heard this, Rao could not help but sink a little with his nature and the bottom of his heart. He could make Baihua take his own blood essence as the price. The seriousness of this matter is obvious. Lyanna's situation is not small now. In addition, in order not to cause panic in the Liu family, only the patriarch Liu Huabai knows about it in the whole Liu family, even the elder Liu Xincheng. As for Ju Tai, after hearing the words disaster poison body, he couldn't help but show a shocked look on his old face, and there was even a ray of fear in his eyes. Misfortune poison body, this thing is a rare terrible constitution in the mainland. How could Ju Tai know its name? What surprised him was that Xiao Yang would leave such a person in this small Liu family. Moreover, when he heard that the white birch could use its own blood essence to suppress the disaster poison, he was surprised at the depths of his sharp old eyes. As soon as he saw the birch, he could feel a familiar taste from the latter, but he could not distinguish the identity of the latter. At the moment, when he heard the birch speak, his curiosity was even more strong. Xiao Yang was not surprised that the disaster poison body broke out completely, but the key was that its power was so terrible that Xiao Yang was surprised. This situation did not even appear. It can be seen that Lyanna's constitution is much more terrible than that of Xiao Yixian. A moment later, under the leadership of Baihua, Xiao Yang and the three came to a secret underground corridor in the Liu family. Deep in the corridor was the dark room where Lyanna was placed. The dark room was set up under the ground hundreds of feet directly below the Liu family residence. The reason for doing so was that the poison was so strong that it could invade the space tens of feet away from Lyanna itself. Even deep underground, the power was also palpitating. Before the three came to the dark room, Xiao Yang and Ju Tai, as herbalists, had already felt the strong poison. What a terrible poison, even the earth has been infected. The three of them gradually moved downward in the corridor full of soft light. When Ju Tai felt the strong poison from Lyanna's body, he couldn't help but make a noise in his mouth. Even the earth could infect the poison. He saw it for the first time in his life. Hearing this, Xiao Yang in front of him also nodded with a slightly heavy face, and the look in his eyes was a little fierce. Bai Hua sighed helplessly and continued to move forward with a light frown. After all, he saw the girl grow up gradually. Now she has become like this. Bai Hua's heart is more or less unbearable, but fortunately, now Xiao Yang is back. He believes that all the troubles will be solved. Soon, the three met Lyanna. Over the years, the original little girl has already grown into a beautiful big girl. With her beautiful cheeks and this delicate body like water, she can definitely be called an amazing beauty. Unfortunately, although the beauty is beautiful, now she can only lie on the icebed of this trait, and her soul is imprisoned by the terrible poison. In the small dark room, the black and purple poison fog is lingering. With the naked eye of ordinary people, you can't see anything here. The night pearl originally embedded in the wall has become dark because of the infection of the poison fog. Even in the whole dark room, it is filled with a rotten smell. Standing in front of the icebed, Xiao Yang was surrounded by light blue flames. The poisonous fog around him would make a slight hissing sound as soon as he came into contact with the strange fire, and then disappeared, but then more poisonous fog would come. Looking at the beautiful girl in front of him, Xiao Yang's eyes contain a color of reluctant to give up. At the same time, he can't help recalling the original little medical fairy in his mind. Now I think how much they are alike. The same weak women have to bear such inhuman pain. Even if Lyanna's cheeks look calm at the moment, everyone knows that her soul is experiencing another suffering that ordinary people can't imagine. No constitution in this world is really prosperous. If you can't break the cocoon and become a butterfly, you can't escape the fate of premature death after all. This little girl, is she with such a terrible constitution? It's really pathetic. Ju Tai is also looking at Lyanna at this time. He can't help feeling a little pity for Lyanna's experience. In his prime of life, he should have encountered such a thing. It's like a epiphyllum just about to bloom, but when it's about to bloom, it's ruthlessly picked. It's too late to happen, and it's about to become the past. Poof! Just after Ju Tai's voice dropped, in Xiao Yang's fierce eyes, a light blue flame suddenly shot out and turned into two flame beams. While dispersing the poisonous fog in front of him, he stretched out two fingers to take it down. The light blue flame covered Xiao Yang's fingers, and there was a flame beating at the fingertips. Then he bent his fingers and flicked, and several small flames suddenly shot out, like four lights, suspended in the four corners of the icebed under Lyanna, releasing a faint flame to disperse the poison fog. Through the reflection of the firelight, Xiao Yang and the three people can clearly see that the icebed under Lyanna has already become dark under the erosion of poison, and some even turn into black water and flow down the icebed. The terrible poison is displayed incisively and vividly at this moment. The icebed was found by White Birch from the deep mountains. Although it is not a treasure, it can be selected by him to suppress the poison in Lyanna's body, which is enough to prove the uniqueness of the icebed, but now it has been eroded into this shape, which is really unimaginable. However, Xiao Yang had no time to pay attention to these at the moment. After dispersing the poisonous fog around the icebed, Xiao Yang stretched out his hand and grabbed Lyanna's white and tender wrist. The light blue flame immediately covered his palm. Under Xiao Yang's control, a trace of flame entered Lyanna's body from his palm. After a simple exploration, Xiao Yang's face became gloomy. Under Xiao Yang's exploration, Lyanna's poison power has already hit all over her body. The strong poison power is almost like the essence. Even with his strange fire, it can't be easily dispelled. Lyanna's state is much worse than he imagined. How can this happen? The poison not only invades the cyclone, but also becomes stronger with the help of the girl's own fighting spirit. Unexpectedly, this kind of thing will happen. Hiss. Just when Xiao Yang's heart was in a bad mood, the poison in Lyanna's body suddenly gathered, forcibly devoured the strange fire Xiao Yang injected into Lyanna's body, and even invaded Xiao Yang's body along the palms of both hands, causing Xiao Yang to immediately loosen the palm holding Lyanna's jade hand. At the same time, the other hand quickly held the wrist of his left hand, and fierce strange fire rushed up, incinerate the poison that invades the palm. Damn it! How could this happen? Xiao Yang didn't expect that this poisonous force would take the initiative to attack his strange fire, and the strength was so strong that he was a little difficult to deal with. Seeing Xiao Yang suddenly retreated, Bai Hua and Ju Tai couldn't help but change their faces. They quickly focused on Xiao Yang, and the source gas in their body was lifted in an instant, just in case. However, Xiao Yang, who seems to be absent-minded at the moment, is paying all his attention to Lyanna in front of her. To be exact, it is the terrible poison in her body, and she has no time to pay attention to the two people whose faces suddenly change. Poof! After a moment of silence, Xiao Yang shot again, but listening to the pop, there was a light blue flame rising in the palm of his right hand. The blazing high temperature instantly burned away the poisonous fog close to him, and even the temperature in the dark room increased a lot at this moment. Looking at the rising flame in Xiao Yang's palm, Ju Tai's eyes showed a bit of sigh. He had never paid much attention to it before. At the moment, the flame burst out its power. He noticed that Xiao Yang's different fire now seems to be very different from what he saw at the beginning. Whether in breath or power, as well as the overbearing degree of the flame, it seems that it is no longer the same as what he saw at the beginning. Even the color has changed greatly, as if the whole different fire has undergone some transformation. What have you experienced these years, boy? Then Xiao Yang in front of him was controlling the light blue flame in the palm. The palm was facing down and slowly approached Lyanna's smooth forehead lying on the ice bed. Buzz! When Xiao Yang's palm just touched Lyanna's forehead, the latter's delicate body immediately trembled uncontrollably. At the same time, a circle of purple and black poison gas, centered on Lyanna's body, swept in all directions. Hiss, hiss. But then, the four flames suspended at the four corners of the ice bed suddenly released dazzling light while the poisonous gas swept through. The blazing high temperature intertwined with each other from the four corners in an instant, and the light blue flame turned into a huge fire net, burning up the outward spreading poisonous gas. What a tyrannical disaster poison! If Xiao Yang's strange fire had not been born with restraint, I'm afraid it wouldn't be so easy to suppress it. Aware of the strength of the poison gas, Ju Tai's face changed slightly. At the same time, he glanced at the ice bed shrouded by the fire again, paused on Lyanna's delicate body, and couldn't help asking Bai Hua. What is he doing? The flame doesn't look like an array. It has no suppressive effect at all. At most, it can only block the poisonous gas released from Lyanna's body, but what does this mean? Detoxification. His eyes narrowed, and his eyes slowly swept over Lyanna lying on the ice bed in front of him. A look of expectation surged into Bai Hua's eyes. He believed that Lyanna would wake up with Xiao Yang's hand. When Ju Tai heard the words spoken by Bai Hua, his old face suddenly showed an unbelievable look. The disaster poison body is a congenital constitution, and there is no medicine to solve it. Why use different fire to expel poison? However, although Ju Tai's heart was reluctant to admit it, after seeing the solemn look on Xiao Yang's face, his heart gradually settled down. He could understand that Xiao Yang would never do anything uncertain. What's more, isn't Xiao Yang always breaking his understanding of the world? Maybe it's time to change those old ideas in his heart. Buzzing, buzzing. Lyanna's delicate body was still shaking violently uncontrollably, and a terrible poison gas gushed out of her body, especially on her delicate and beautiful cheek. The strong poison turned the whole cheek into a dense black. It has turned into a purple-black delicate, lips opened uncontrollably, and a hoarse strange cry came out from the throat. The poison force gathered together madly, just like a black poisonous snake, and rushed at Xiao Yang's palm printed on Lyanna's forehead. This thing has self-consciousness. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang's pupil shrank suddenly and then clenched his teeth. The light blue flame suddenly became more fierce. While spreading rapidly, it seemed to turn into a flame-crazy lion and tore it up with the poison. Put it out. Soon, the flame completely wrapped Lyanna's whole delicate body. The strange fire rose. The high temperature removed all the poisonous fog around. The fire almost filled the whole dark room. In a moment, all the poisonous fog originally filled in the dark room dispersed, and the peculiar smell in the air gradually disappeared. It seemed that there was more anger. Bang! After a brief meeting, Xiao Yang pinched and exploded the black poisonous snake, and the raging flame rushed up like a hungry tiger, refining all the poison. Even so, the mood in Xiao Yang's heart was not relaxed. The poison had an independent consciousness. He saw this for the first time. If he couldn't be careful, it would cause great harm to Lyanna, which was not what he wanted to see. When Xiao Yang's strange fire was injected into Lyanna again, the previous scene happened again. The poison power seemed to become more fierce in Lyanna's body. He was not afraid of Xiao Yang's strange fire. Even under the repeated impact, Xiao Yang was very uncomfortable. After a long time, the strange fire failed to drive away the poison power in Lyanna's body. This could not help but make Xiao Yang frown. If it is forcibly expelled, Xiao Yang is worried that Lyanna's body will be hurt, but if it is so laissez-faire, it is bound to be unable to expel the poison, which makes Xiao Yang in a dilemma. After a long hesitation, Xiao Yang finally chose to act decisively. According to the current situation, they have no other way. The poison has soaked Lyanna's whole body. If they don't dispel it again, I'm afraid it will be more difficult in the future. If they want to dispel it again, they may have less chance of success. Without hesitation, Xiao Yang put out his hands. The flaming flame curled around his palms, held Lyanna's limbs in turn, injected huge strange fire from his wrists, feet and wrists, and finally the top of his head. He began to expel the heavy poison in Lyanna's body from these 5 places. With his huge soul power, Xiao Yang controlled 5 different fires in different positions and began to refine the poison power in Lyanna's body. Because of the different distribution of poison power in each place, Xiao Yang also has higher requirements in controlling the power of different fire. If he is careless, he may damage Lyanna's body. Fortunately, with Xiao Yang's current strength, he can be called an extremely powerful existence in both soul power and fire control. It may be impossible for others to control different fires to refine poison power, but it is not very difficult for him. When the mind moved, the surging soul power in the middle of the eyebrows immediately gushed out and divided into 5 strands, controlling the different fire in Lyanna's body. Next, there is a battle between different fire and disaster poison. The blazing flame released a hot temperature and began to refine crazily in the limbs filled with poison. You can even see a little light blue light under Lyanna's skin. That's the different fire refining poison at the moment. Wherever there is a light blue light rising on Lyanna's body surface, it means the poison under her flesh and blood, it has been dispelled by Xiao Yang's strange fire. Hiss, hiss. Under the refining of different fire, the poison power filled Lyanna's whole palm suddenly melted and disintegrated like ice in case of fire. First, the poison power filled his fingertips quickly faded and disappeared, then 5 fingers, and finally the whole palm, even the whole arm, and even the whole body. Of course, the process of expelling poison power is not as easy as expected. The strength of poison power is far from what Xiao Yang has seen in the past. Although different fire is strong, the counterattack power of poison power cannot be underestimated. This time, just to get rid of the poison in Lyanna's hands, it took 3 hours, and the source gas in Xiao Yang's body consumed a lot. Even Xiao Yang's face couldn't help emitting a few drops of sweat, but even so, there was still a part of the poison hidden deep in the latter's bones. After all, the poison has been released in Lyanna's body for many years, and it can be removed to this extent in a few hours. It can be said that it is very good. It needs more time to completely eradicate it. As for the moment, the most important thing is to dispel the poison all over Lyanna's body. Time passed bit by bit. Finally, Xiao Yang simply sat in front of the ice bed, while Bai Hua and Ju Tai chose to leave the dark room after hesitation. If they stay here, they will only interfere with Xiao Yang's detoxification process. Only when they leave, can he really do his best. It is unnecessary to worry about the safety of the former. When the 2 men left, Xiao Yang stayed alone in the dark room for 3 days. 3 days later, all the detoxification process was completely over, and Xiao Yang came out of the dark room. However, when he was exposed to the sun, his face was not as comfortable as everyone imagined. In the conference hall of the Liu family residence, there was no one except a few high-level people of the Liu family. Xiao Yang sat in a chair with a tired look on his face. His look was slightly dim and seemed to be a little lost. The seats on the left and right sides are Bai Hua and Ju Tai respectively, and opposite are the homeowner Liu Huabai and the elder Liu Xincheng. Up to now, Bai Hua did not continue to hide anything from Liu Xincheng, but told him the whole story. When the latter knew it, although she was shocked by Lyanna's situation, she didn't say much. He also knew that the reason why Bai Hua didn't say it was also to worry about the words of the Liu family and others. After all, the more people know about this kind of thing, the more unnecessary trouble it will cause. Liu Xincheng has lived for so many years, and he still understands this truth. How's it going? Has Lotus's poison been solved? Xiao Yang sighed. Bai Hua sees Xiao Yang's tired face. Although he understands Xiao Yang's fatigue in his heart, he still can't help asking. Although the others around him are silent, they also stare at Xiao Yang with their eyes. After all, the matter of Lyanna is also an extremely troublesome event in the Liu family. However, in the face of Bai Hua's impatient problem, Xiao Yang shook his head helplessly after a long silence, sighed and slowly said, "This matter is much more troublesome than I thought. With my current means, I can't remove the poison from Lyanna's body, even if it's different fire." "What? Even strange fire? What can I do?" Hearing this, the expression on the faces of the people present suddenly changed. They were helpless and unwilling. They had been guarding the girl for so many years. Did they finally get such a result? In this regard, Xiao Yang's heart is also helpless. He will think that the strong poison has invaded Lyanna's soul origin. Under the pretext of Lyanna's soul origin, it is unscrupulous in his body. Therefore, it seems that it has independent consciousness in Xiao Yang's exploration. After 3 days of refining and dispelling, most of the poison power has been dispelled, but some of them still remain in Lyanna's cyclone and soul source, which can't be touched by Xiao Yang's current means. Even with Xiao Yang's soul power, they can't be pulled out. Once they are forced, even if they haven't been dispelled, will destroy the origin of Lyanna's soul. What should I do? It's hard not to keep Lyanna in the dark room all the time. The girl has suffered enough. Liu Huabai also opened his mouth reluctantly. Although Lyanna had no blood relationship with him, at least he grew up with his own eyes and let him ignore it. It's really impossible. Wait a minute. I'll seal her cyclone with a different fire for the time being. The poison will not spread in a short time. In addition, I'll find someone. Maybe she can save Lyanna. With a long sigh, Xiao Yang expressed his hope again when the hopes of several people were dashed. Just as Xiao Yang was looking forward to it, Luo Jin and others finally came here outside Qingyang City. In addition to Luo Jin and Cold Frost, there are great apes and narwhals and snakes. As for others, they stay in the Shalin Mountains to prevent accidents. 3 Gyuanjing and 1 Jiuxing Dudi suddenly appeared over Qingyang City, which naturally immediately attracted the attention of many people in the city. As the first force in Qingyang City, the Liu family naturally played a 12-point spirit at the moment of their appearance. However, after Xiao Yang found these familiar smells, a smile finally appeared on his slightly pale cheek. The white birch on one side saw it, and the tension in his heart dissipated. Several people in the hall got up slowly, led by Xiao Yang, walked out of the hall slowly, looked up at several people in the sky. Xiao Yang smiled and said, "Come down. If you stay in heaven like this, the people in this city will run away." After several wars, Qingyang City has long been unable to withstand this impact. Once a strong man comes, the only thing people in the city can think of is to leave here as soon as possible with all the previous items to take refuge. At the moment, the sudden appearance of cold and frost has frightened many people in the city. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, although several people in the sky didn't know what to do, looking at the nervous people in the city, they quickly fell down and landed in the Liu family's residence. When the people in the city realized that there was no war between the two sides, their nervous mood gradually relaxed. As soon as they met, Leng Bingshuang immediately noticed the situation of Xiao Yang. Regardless of the latter's objection, he went forward to explore. He was not relieved until he confirmed that Xiao Yang was not in great harm. However, there was a slightly ambiguous scene between the two people. Looking at the eyes of these people around, the expression on their faces was somewhat unnatural, especially Ju Tai. When his eyes swept over the 4 people in front of him, his eyes immediately showed a look of shock. He found that among these people, except a young black-robed man, all others are strong at the level of Huyuan environment, especially the enchanting woman who is checking Xiao Yang's physical condition at the moment. Her breath is extremely strong and has reached the peak of Huyuan environment in the later stage. I'm afraid it's only one step away from returning to Hu Yuan environment. As for Luo Jin, he knew the latter in his early years, which is needless to say. Ju Tai didn't have many accidents about his cultivation. In addition, it was the bald man who was strong in cultivation. He could actually feel a light pressure from the latter. That pressure was similar to his innate domineering, but it was more domineering and fierce. Even he couldn't help being afraid. Although the boy of the 9-star fighting emperor seems to have ordinary cultivation, since he can be with these people, he is definitely not a simple person. However, what surprised Ju Tai most was that this group of people were all Xiao Yang's friends, and the relationship between this woman and Xiao Yang was self-evident. This boy, how can he meet a guy with cultivation at this level? At this moment, Rao is in Ju Tai's state of mind, and the corners of his mouth can't help a slight twitch. As for other Liu people around him, his mood doesn't need to be said. Acquaintances don't have to be polite when they sit down. However, before Xiao Yang asks about the little medical fairy, Lung Bingshuang first handed a jade slip to Xiao Yang. At the same time, Lung Bingshuang told Xiao Yang that the little medical fairy left alone after coming to the southern region with them. What? How can you let her go alone? The forces in the southern region are complex. With her current cultivation, once something happens, that's why she chose to leave. She doesn't want to be a burden to you. Before the voice of questioning in Xiao Yang's mouth completely fell, Lung Bingshuang interrupted it, and Xiao Yang's face was stunned. No wonder Xiao Yishen's words have been much less recently, and even his eyes are uncomfortable. Is that the reason?